Couples that put their marriage on hold while they're raising kids have trouble when the kids leave home, because sometimes it's like, I forgot what your name was.
Thank you for joining us for the Blended Kingdom Families podcast. This podcast is for blended families, the people who love them, and anyone who just wants to improve their marriage and family relationships.
BKF exists to break the cycle of divorce, equip marriages, and unite blended families with the truth of God's Word. It is our hope that today you will receive biblical guidance and practical resources that will bring unity and peace to create your thriving, healthy home. Let's jump in.
Hey guys, welcome to the BKF podcast. We are so excited to be with you today. If you haven't already, please take an opportunity, like, share, subscribe to our podcast. We would love to alert you to new podcasts that come out every single week. Also, if you happen to be listening to this on Audible, please take an opportunity, go to our YouTube channel. You can see this all on video, subscribe, share, get all the updates from our podcast. We would love to have you as part of our community. But today, we're excited to welcome an amazing guest with us, Dr. Kimberling. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, guys. It's great to be here. Love what you guys do and love to get to spend time with you.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Kim, again, thank you for being here. We're just so honored and blessed to have you. And I just want to share with our audience a little bit more about you and tell them who you are. And so you guys, Dr. Kim is a professional counselor for over 40 years, so a lot of wisdom and knowledge. He's been married to his beautiful wife, Nancy, for over 50 years. So we're getting counseling and marriage advice today, you guys. Like, this is awesome. Together, Dr. Kim and his wife have 2 adult children and 5 grandchildren. I'm sure that is such a blessing. And Dr. Kim is also the president and co-founder of Awesome Marriage, which is an online marriage ministry that helps thousands of couples worldwide build an awesome marriage. And he is also the author of 7 Secrets of an Awesome Marriage and 14 Keys to Lasting Love, and hosts the Awesome Marriage podcast. So you guys have to go subscribe and check that out as well. And credentially, Dr. Kim has a Ph.D. and Doctorate of Ministry in Christian Counseling, master's degree in Christian Ministry and Theological Studies. So welcome, Dr. Kim.
Gosh, I just was getting enthralled with who you were talking about. It's like, I don't know where all those things came from. Thank you. That's a nice introduction. No, it's great. And you mentioned, the loves of our lives are our kids and grandkids, and that is such a blessing. We are blessed that they all live close, so we see them all the time. In fact, today, we're taking our 12-year-old granddaughter to lunch and shop for her birthday. So having them close gets us a chance to do all those kind of fun things, which we love doing.
It's awesome.
That's amazing. And Dr. Kim, we love your heart for marriage. As our listeners tune in all the time, they are all trying to be successful. And I've said this a lot of times. You've been married for 50 years. So many couples have that eye on that prize and they're trying to make their marriage work. So we're excited to dive into what is, how do you make successful marriages and how do you get through life?
Sure.
As we were talking about before the podcast, we have little kids and it's busy and we work a lot at our family and our marriage. And we love having awesome friends and authors who pour into our marriage. So we're going to dive into that today. Before we do, and I know you mentioned your grandkids and things like that, is there anything else that you like to do, Dr. Kim, that you'd like to share with the audience?
Oh, of course, Nancy and I've loved spending time together. We've loved that since we met and on a blind date, incidentally, and started dating in college and continued to do that. So obviously spending time with her is special, but we do a lot of things together. We've recently, with some friends, and grandkids, started playing pickleball. That's been kind of fun because everybody can do it. And so we've really enjoyed that. It's kind of another way to build community and to be with friends and family, and probably, honestly, I shouldn't say, I'm going to say it. My 9-year-old grandson is probably the best pickleball player of all of us. He's just got amazing eye-hand coordination, and he can just do amazing things with that. So really the things that I enjoy, I love what we do at Awesome Marriage. We have a great team. It's just God's blessed us with a great team, which means so much. You guys know that you have a great team, and what a difference that makes to others who haven't been that blessed with the kind of teams that we have. And so those are good. I love writing. That's one of my passions, working on a new book now. And so just a lot of different things that I enjoy doing. I did start guitar the first of this year, self-teaching, and I have not made my debut yet, but I'm getting closer to being able to have somebody besides me listen to the first song I play.
Well, that is awesome.
Love
That is awesome. Well, your two books, and again, we talked about these in the intro, 7 Secrets to an Awesome Marriage and 14 Keys to Lasting Love. Both wonderful books, great nuggets. One of the questions that we're going to dive into, again, we're going after marriage, and we're going to really try to enhance marriages today. We're all busy. A lot of marriages have little kids like us, or they have grandkids, you know, depending on the season they're in. But how do you overcome seasons of busyness in your marriage that, because of that, cause lack of communication, lack of intimacy? You know, you almost become roommates with your spouse. Based on your experience, how do couples combat that?
Yeah, because I don't think we overcome it, actually. I think we transition from one season to another. And I think you guys have little kids now, but they're going to grow up and you're going to have another season. And it seems like it's always busy. You know, you don't ever quite get to that point where you think, we got a few years, it just doesn't seem to be that way. So I think it's putting some habits in place that transition those seasons. So from before you have kids, when you have kids, as they grow up, when they leave, all those kind of things that you put healthy habits for your marriage in. So it's not the ups and downs of a different season, you know, and you can't put your marriage on hold. So you want to put those in place. The couples that put their marriage on hold while they're raising kids have trouble when the kids leave home. Because sometimes it's like, I forgot what your name was. You know, I know we've lived life together and raised kids, but we're not connected. And so getting those things in place. And so I think connection is something we talk about a lot. And really that is just making sure that you know, before Nancy and I were married, I pursued her really well. You know, I could not get enough of her, you know, and spending time. And then I fell into kind of the trap of early marriage. A lot of people, they went at 20 years old. I mean, I went off to conquer the world and make money and take care of her. And she was still in school. And we just realized probably 6 months or 8 months into marriage that we weren't as connected as we were. We were sleeping in the same bed. We were living in the same apartment, but we just weren't connecting. And so I think taking that time where you're just every day, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes, just touching base with each other. How's your day? What's going on inside you? How can I pray for you? Those kind of things. And prayer is one of those things that I think is so important for a couple. I think praying together, I think praying for each other. I think you see God show up because he does. And I think when he does, that encourages you. And I think it helps you realize when you come to those tough times, we're really not in this alone. God is here. We did make a covenant before him. He's going to do his part and he's going to help us do our part. It's not like he's just saying, okay, if you do your part, I'll do mine. No, he's doing his and he equips us to do ours. So those things, I think, are some of the habits you want to get into that are going to transition from one season to another. Because I think unless something drastic happens in the culture we live in, we're all going to always be busy at some level or another. You know, people I know that have retired are busy. You know, I talked to one guy the other day, he said, I think I'll go back to work. I wasn't as busy then as I am now. You know, I thought, yeah, because he's picked up all these things and he volunteers and he does family stuff. And, you know, so you're always going to be busy. It's but you've got to keep God first and your spouse second. And I think if you keep that principle consistently, then I think you'll be okay. Because where I see couples have trouble is when they, you know, there's so many divorces early in marriage now. I think a couple of years ago, there were more in the first year, more marriage than ever before. And I wouldn't be surprised if that stat's still not pretty true. And I think it's because we hit these hard times and couples give up too easy. And I think Nancy and I had a bunch of hard times through that 50 years that we've had so far. And we could have given up. And we almost did at year 6. And I think if we had given up there, what we would not have had and what God taught us and where we are today, we would never have been there. And so it's helping people do the things in their marriage that help them when those tough times come, persevere through it and not give up, because you're all going to have hard times. I mean, Jesus told us that, you know, this world we're going to have, so we do, but he equips us for that and he walks through it. I met with a couple recently and the guy had an affair. And one of the things that he said was so right and so right on. He said, if I would have taken that energy I put in that affair and put it in my marriage, I wouldn't be here today. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's so much wisdom in what you just said, because I think we look for what we think is an easy way out. And so you go and have an affair or you do something you shouldn't do or stupid or it's going to hurt your marriage. But if you put that energy in your marriage and came to your spouse, you said, if I would have just said, hey, I'm not happy. I love you, but I'm not happy. And I'm feeling a lot of temptation. And can we go to counseling together? Can we do this? And then none of those things probably would have happened and they'd be way on their way. The good thing is they're in counseling, they're committed. And I think they're gonna build something great for each other.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, and you said a phrase, and I want to kind of go back to that phrase, marriage on hold. I thought that was such a pronounced thing that I wonder how many marriages are on continuous hold.
Yeah.
Are they just in the background? So, Dr. Kim, what I want to ask you is, what are some of the symptoms that you think are present in a marriage that is disconnected? So if a listener is listening to this and they're going, I don't know if I'm connected to my spouse. I know I'm living life. I know I'm paying bills. I know I'm raising kids. But how connected should I be? What is the symptom of being disconnected?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because I think sometimes we don't really know. And I think for most couples get connected, it is kind of a gradual thing. I think if it happened just one day, you were connected and not the next day, you'd notice it. But it's kind of like, when you're swimming in the ocean and you're out there an hour and you look back and you think somebody stole your stuff, but you've drifted down the beach, 100 yards, and you say, oh yeah, there's my stuff way back up on the beach. And I think that kind of happens. And so I think you want to continue to do the things that keep that from happening. And I think when you put your marriage like on hold, and people do that, and I think some people do it almost not even, it's not a conscious decision, but I got a new job. And I've got to provide for my family. And so I'm going to give it everything. I'm putting all my energy in that job, which I think any couple can do that for a period of time. But if that continues, it's going to take a toll on your marriage.
Yeah.
And so what I tell somebody in that situation, I said, okay, how long do you think, what's your plan? Okay, your wife is saying, I'm willing to put on hold for a month or two while you get into this job, but I can't do it for 2 years, and so how do we make that not happen? Because I think his intentions were good. I'm going to provide for my family. I've got a job that I think is really good. And so I think we have to be aware of those times that people do it all the time with kids. I just kind of reference. And I think we're seeing now the results of some of that, because I think there's been a lot of the kid-centered family philosophy that has gone around in the past. And I think they're seeing now that it probably wasn't good for the kids anyway. And it's certainly not good for your marriage, because we're modeling marriage for our kids, and if your kids, one of the best blessings, somebody said a long time ago is for a man to love his wife and a wife to love her husband, because you're modeling that for your kids. And I have couples that say, well, we can't go out on a date night. We'd leave the kids alone. I said, no, they need to see that you date. They need to see that this is the priority right relationship. They're going to be fine while you're gone for 3 hours, and you're setting something good for them. And then you can show them, you come home the great time you had with dad or mom, and, let them see, because you want them to date when they're married, don't you? And everybody always says yes, but it's like, yeah, I want them to do it, but I want it. Well, you're their textbook for marriage.
Yeah.
And if they don't see you doing it, they're not going to do it. I think I got a little off of what you asked, but
I think
good.
it's great.
No, that's absolutely good. And I'm thinking, Dr. Kim, because we have so many people that when they reach out to us, they're in just desperation and crisis, because it's like they've gone so long without, the maintenance of their marriage, and they're, they just don't even know where to begin. So for those that are listening and watching today, and they're like, I don't even know where to begin to even try to start the reconciliation process, or to try to restore that relationship, what advice or encouragement that you could give them, that they could, just something smaller to start doing daily that can help, draw husband and wife closer together?
I think you need to have the conversation. I think you need to, you got to try to get on the same page. I mean, you can do a lot yourself, but you can only do what you can do. And so what I talk to a couple, hey, here's some ideas I think that will really help you guys. Are you both in? Because if one's doing it, the other isn't. I can cause them more problems than I did by helping them in that situation. So I think your first step is say, hey, we want this kind of marriage. This is what we wanted when we stood before God and committed to each other, or when I asked you to marry me. And so let's get back on track there. And then I think you start with the basics. I think you've got to have time together. I think if your couples never pray together, I think they need to figure that out, and that can be silently together. It can be out loud together. I mean, you can stand on your heads. I don't care. Just pray. And it doesn't have to, I have so many guys that scares them to death when I say that. I said, you're not your pastor. You're the leader of this home. And so all you have to do is say, God, help me be the husband I need to be. Help my wife. Give us wisdom in this decision with our kids. You don't have to have some big oration. Just make that simple. So time together and then you got to have fun together. I see so many couples that I look at and I say, what do you do for fun? And they look at me like, the deer in the headlights deal. And I said, well, did you ever have? Oh my gosh, we had so much fun when we were dating. And they can tell me all the great things I did. So I said, let's pick one of those and start doing them again.
Yeah.
And so I think it's getting those conversations started. How do we make sure we set time for ourselves? How do we have fun together, which usually is going to involve a date or date night or something like that you need to build those things in. And I think then you kind of get back to why you got married in the first place. You really had with that person and like being around them, or you wouldn't have gotten married.
Yeah.
And so all the ingredients are there. It's the same way with communication in marriage. Most guys will stretch as much as they can to communicate well because they know it's important when we're pursuing her. And then it's like we get her and get the ring on her, and it's like, I don't have to talk again. No, that's not true. You got to keep talking. And so I think it's there's so many things. I think it's being empathetic with each other. I think it's making important to you what's important to your spouse. I think that's one of the things that goes a long way in a marriage. And Nancy really started us on that early in marriage, and things that she did for me that she didn't really want to do, but she knew I did, and she enjoyed watching me do it. Well, it made me, when she said then, okay, will you go to the ballet with me? I go, oh my gosh. So yes, I said yes. In my mind, I was thinking, but I did, and I found out the same thing. I've never got great into ballet. Ballet is great. It just wasn't my thing, but I loved watching her watch it. And so I think I think you start with the first steps, and then you begin to look for opportunities. We talk a lot about touch points because I think we have those every day. Some are real obvious and some are not. And I think you take advantage of that. We got in the habit of going on errands, and whoever wasn't driving was on their phone. And times when we realized, oh my gosh, we used to talk. We used to use that 15 minutes to the store or whatever just to talk and catch up, and no distractions because nobody else in the car with us. So we made the rule, we're together. We agreed we're just not going to be on our phones in the car. We're going to go back to talking. And so I think you have those opportunities. There's a couple that I love, Dave and Claudia Arp. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they've probably been married 60 something years, but they wrote a book on I think it's called Dating Your Spouse or something like that. But they make a date out of everything. If they live in a house where they have to walk the mailbox, they walk the mailbox together and they talk on the way to dinner. They make a date out of going to the mailbox, and if they're going to the grocery store, they'll stop at their favorite coffee shop on the way or back home. They look for opportunities. I love what they do because they date all the time. And I think sometimes we think about dates and we miss out on opportunities. You can date when you're just hanging out in the house together, just by spending that time together.
That's so good.
No,
Does that help?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just don't think you can overstate the importance of it. My relationship with Vanessa is unlike any other relationship. It is the marriage relationship, and we're supposed to have fun together. We're supposed to flirt with each other.
Yeah.
We're supposed to enjoy each other. Yes, we do some great things together and it's fun. And I'm sure couples are out there and they're like, we're building and we're raising kids and we're doing that great. But there is more, and you should enjoy that. And I just love your heart for sharing those practical tips and encouraging.
Yeah, you hit on something that I think is so important, the flirting part. I think we kind of miss that, and that is such an important part of marriage. I mean, I think you want to keep that spark alive. I mean, you're going to be on the mountaintop all the time, but I think you look for those opportunities. I think so we can be at somewhere, and she's across the room. She can look at me with her eyes in a way, and it's a flirt, and nobody knows we're flirting but us. But but you want to kind of keep those things alive. It made me think of one of my grandsons was on a baseball team, and so Nancy and I go to most all the games because the kids are here. But watching the different couples with kids and the ones who continue to nurture their marriage, even if they're at a kid's baseball game, they're still connected in some way. You can just see it. I mean, they may not sit together the whole time, but you see when they come together, there's a connect, there's something there. What do you think about? They're sharing in their child's success, or, oh my gosh, he struck out 3 times. How are we going to help him tonight? You can just see that, and you see couples that are just kind of there and just biding their time, and they don't use that can be a touch point right there.
Yeah.
And so it's just being aware of those and taking advantage of them. And make it a game. Take a week and see who can find the most touch points, and by the end of the week. And so, man, if you're doing that consistently, you're going to have a lot of fun. And your marriage is going to grow,
I love that. I love the touch points. That's such a good nugget.
Well, and we live in such a technology-driven world where touch points are pretty easy,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know I'm just going to throw something that Vanessa and I do. So, we don't text a whole lot to each other, and we definitely don't text important things to each other. But I think one of the things that we do that's kind of fun is we send little memes, little gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're nothing like special, but they kind of underlay a message that we want to send to each other, and it's different from, the average conversation. What's going on with our boys? What are we having for dinner?
So it's kind of like a conversation with gifts, but it is fun and it's flirtatious. And, I'm like, okay, I know what you're thinking for tonight. All right. On board.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I just think more couples, again, I don't understate the relevance of people getting into the rat race. And you talk about roommates, and you talk about just this path of getting through your marriage. And I know there are seasons that are like that. I do know that. And if you're watching this and you happen to be in one of those seasons, I hope that you're taking this encouragement in this time to just go out and go, okay, how connected am I to my spouse? How are we connecting? And I'm so grateful for you, Dr. Kim, and just your time and love and effort you're putting into marriages.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I think the key is, I think what you said is really key, that we all get in those times. The key is you don't get stuck there.
Yeah.
And because we're all going to probably get in those times at one time or other in our marriage, but you just don't want to get stuck there. I love what you said about you guys sending the memes. Nancy finally found out, but I had my watch set for years to text her at 3:00 in the afternoon just to let her know I was thinking about her. Well, she happened to be with me when that went off one time, so it kind of blew the surprise of it. But then she came back and said, I'm thankful that you thought that was important enough to put that in there. So she took it really well. One other thing I thought of when we were talking, that when we talk about connect in the evenings, get past kind of what you were saying, the questions of, how was your day, that kind of stuff, to say, how do you see God work in the world today? Or what was the best thing that happened at your work today? Or what was somebody is there somebody at your work that we should need to be praying on? So kind of give some more open-ended questions instead of because a guy, if Nancy just asks me, how was your day? She's going to get fined. And if she says, or did you have a good day? Yes. I'm great at the one-word answers, but she said, tell me the best thing that happened today. Well, I'm going to start telling her things, and all of a sudden I found out, I just talked for 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, which is what she wanted me to do, because then she can interact with me on that. So, and I think wives can get very good at asking those kind of questions. And if your husband's not a big talker, just have some grace with him and just keep pursuing, and it's in there. He can do it. He probably did it when he won your heart, so he can do it.
Well, and you said that, it made me think of one other thing. There's also, you can go in and search, I'm just going to use technology again as an answer, but you can do a Google search for, questions for couples to ask each other.
Oh yeah.
And we've done this with some couple friends.
When we're at dinner.
Yeah, we're at dinner.
Conversations.
And it's just random questions like, what's your favorite memory of high school?
And why?
And why?
Yeah.
What was your favorite sitcom? There are questions that we haven't asked our spouse that would be fun to talk about.
Oh yeah.
That again,
absolutely,
add to the connection to each other.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you were talking about, Dr. Kim, the way you worded that when you said, what did God show you today? I think oftentimes we forget even in our marriage just to invite God into the space of our marriage and just be like, God, we welcome you here today. Or, you know, whether it's in your quiet time. Scott and I have in the evenings after we put our boys to bed, we just sit and talk. And, you know, just taking that time just to be like, you know, is there anything that the Lord's been speaking to you about on your heart or this or that, and praying together. That's one thing that we teach and preach on so much here at BKF is praying with your spouse. And you were right. Not enough people do it together. And I think a lot of us, don't understand the power in that, because coming into the presence of God together with your spouse, I mean, that is the ultimate weapon against the enemy that we have. And so just when you can come in and pray with your spouse together, it's just powerful.
Yeah. And I would also add, and Dr. Kim, you referenced this before, you know, just because you don't pray the same.
Yeah.
You know, Vanessa and I, we don't pray the same.
No.
She prays a lot longer than I do.
A little long-winded.
Exactly. And she communicates differently than I do. And that's okay. It took some time to get used to.
Sure.
But I also just want to encourage couples, if you're not praying together, and as a counselor, I've been in that shoe before where you're asking a couple, do you pray together? And they're like, no. And you're like, it is such a powerful thing. But a lot of times people don't, because they're uncomfortable with their prayer language.
Right.
They just don't, they don't want to feel underperforming in front of their spouse in prayer.
Absolutely. And I think we struggle with that more as guys, don't you?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, and probably because most of our wives they're probably better spiritually than we are, honestly.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't think women I talk to, when their husband prays, they're not rating your spirituality. They're so thankful that this guy that God gave me is praying for us right now. And they love that. And I think take the pressure off of you guys. I mean, don't feel pressured. Just talk from your heart and start easy. Start quick.
Yeah.
You know, don't start with something difficult.
Well, and I think a lot of Christians put, we've probably all seen this, they put Christianity into a Sunday block. It's a Sunday block of time. Yeah. It's from Sunday morning from 9 to 10, and then my cup is filled and I go fill it up the next Sunday. And they forget to understand the importance of what God can do during the week in your marriage, throughout your marriage. And so, again, I'm so glad that we addressed that and just kind of talked about it. And we encourage the couples who are listening. If you're not praying together, simple prayer. Lord, bless me, bless my spouse, bless my kids. Help me be a better husband and better wife. Amen. And just watch and see where it goes from there. But do it every night together.
It's good.
Yeah, and I think too, the other thing I think is so important is reading the Bible together, and that used to scare people too. And I think now with things like YouVersion and reading plans, it makes it so much easier. I had a guy one time, and I just finally convinced him to read the Bible. Came back next week, and he said, "Well, I just let it drop open." Well, he was in the middle of Leviticus or something, and he's talking about animal sacrifices, and he goes, what do you? And so it's so nice to be able to point people where they can say, hey, here's a plan. Let's do this. And it just helps us to get in that together.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Well, Dr. Kim, one of the questions that we always like to ask our speakers and guests that come on is, if you had a blended family sitting in front of you, what one big just nugget of encouragement would you just want to impart to them, whether it's marriage advice, blended family advice? What would you want to say?
I would say probably patience and grace. I think blended families, just like any marriage, but blended families, as you guys know, have some unique challenges because if it was just Scott and Vanessa and no kids, you'd be fine. But it gets different. Just like in a family, when you get 2 or 3 kids, it gets different. And so I think being patient, keeping your expectations realistic, I think are really, really important. And I think too, one of the things that I had a mom do that was a blended family years ago, early in my practice, and she made a homemade flag for their family. And on that flag, there was something that represented everybody on it. And that flag flew when they had birthdays, when all the special occasions. And it just signified, yes, somebody may be going to a different house on some weekends, but when we're on this out, we are a family. And I thought that was such a good visual for those kids to see. Good. And so I think grace. I mean, I think we don't give each other enough grace. And I think a lot of our culture, we don't take time to give somebody grace. But I think a blended family, you've got to give grace. You've got to give grace because there's so many things that you could get offended by or get ticked off by that probably a year from now, you're not even going to remember what it was, and just lots of grace. So those are my 3 nuggets I would say for that.
No, I love it. I love it. Well, Dr. Kim, we're coming to the end of our time together. We ask one question to every single one of our podcast guests, and we love this question. The name of our ministry, Blended Kingdom Families. What is a blended kingdom family to you?
I think it's to me, it's kind of the picture of the whole body of believers together. I mean, I see the bigger picture there, and that someday we're all going to be together in heaven. And why not get the pieces of that we can here? And I think as Christians, we, especially today, we argue and get at odds of things that I just don't think God cares. I mean, I guess he cares, but he doesn't want us to get at odds about. And I think to me that whole blended is coming together, accepting our differences. It's loving each other. It's giving grace to each other. And that's what I think that's what God wants us to do. We don't need to be fighting each other. And so I think I just love the word family because I think it starts with you guys and your kids, and it goes to your surrounding other people in your life, other family members, and then it continues to go your church and your community, because I think that was God's plan from the very beginning, that we're all part of this family, and we are blended. We're all different colors. We're all, we're male, female. We have all these differences, but we can still be family. And I think if we could get that message around the world, we'd see a different world.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Amen.
And I love that. Dr. Kim, thank you so much for being here with us today. Before we jump off, we want all of our viewers to know where they can find you and your awesome content and resources in your ministry. So can you tell our viewers where they can find you?
Sure. AwesomeMarriage.com will lead you just about everything. We're on all social medias. I'm even on TikTok now, which it scared me to death. I'm having a ball with it right now. It's fun.
I saw you and Nancy dancing. That was so fun.
We did. They sent us that and said, can you do this? And I looked at Nancy, goes, yeah, we can do that. So we did. So we do some funny things like that. And then all of that, social media. I have a new website, kimberling.com, which doesn't have a whole lot on it now, but we're going to be rolling out some different things but awesomemarriage.com will lead you to our resources. You can sign up for our one thing email, which comes one day a week, Monday through Friday each week. And it's just one thing you can do for your marriage. And it's everything we do is try to help people be intentional about their marriage, to think about their marriage, think about making it better, and to help give them some tools to do that. And we've got a lot of fun tools. We've got a sex challenge. We've got a daily, weekly checkup where you just kind of sit down on Sunday and you look at your week and you kind of check, where are we with each other and what do we want to do this week? And so there's a lot of tools there that I think can help people have the marriage God had for them. And that's the whole goal of Awesome Marriage anyway.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome.
Well, Dr. Kim, it was such a pleasure having you. And again, I just want to tell the titles of your books: 7 Secrets to an Awesome Marriage, 14 Keys to Lasting Love. If you haven't picked these up, please go, and they can probably find these on Amazon or your website.
For sure.
Or awesomemarriage.com.
Amazon, just about anywhere you get books. Some of the stores still have them. Barnes & Noble has had them both. So yeah.
Wonderful,
awesome.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Dr. Kim.
Yes,
and guys, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast and just love having you here and Dr. Kim with us. And we hope you enjoyed this wonderful bits of nuggets of wisdom.
Yes, and you guys, if you haven't already left us a review on our iTunes, Apple Podcasts, we just want to encourage you to do so. It gives our viewers and listeners an opportunity just to hear your reviews, see them, and just get some encouragement about the podcast. And I just want to read one from MSING 2006. Amazing podcast. Love the content. Keep up the great work. So thank you so much. And again, you guys, we just pray that you're blessed in all that you do today.
Take care.
Hey guys, so glad you were here with us today, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
And you can find more resources from Blended Kingdom Families at blendedkingdomfamilies.com. Join us again next time as we hang out with more amazing podcast guests. And remember, nothing will be impossible with God.